I stood in my daughter's clean and tidy kitchen, holding a cream-colored envelope that felt heavier than it should. Claire had just thrown it in the recycling bin 5 minutes ago, waving it away with her well-kept hand. "Dad, it's just more of Mom's worried nonsense. You know how she got near the end." But I couldn't shake the feeling bothering my stomach. My wife Margaret had been many things during our 43 years together, but overly worried wasn't one of them. She was careful, yes, super organized, absolutely, but never overly worried. I took the envelope back out of the recycling bin while Claire was upstairs changing for her tennis lesson. The return address was from Davidson and Associates, a law company in downtown Toronto I'd never heard of. It was mailed 3 days before Margaret died, 6 weeks ago now. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper with an address, a 9-digit number, and a handwritten note in Margaret's special handwriting. "Trust no one but yourself. Go alone. They're expecting you." 20 minutes later, I was driving toward the business district. Claire's voice was still playing in my head from when I'd told her I was leaving. "You're being ridiculous. That company probably just wants to sell you something. Mom wasn't thinking clearly those last months." But Margaret had been thinking clearly, crystal clear. In fact, I remembered now how she'd stopped taking her pain medicine those final weeks, saying she needed her mind sharp. I'd thought it was about staying strong. Now I wondered if there had been another reason. The law office was on the 17th floor of a glass building near Bay Street. The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, looked up as I walked in. "You must be William," she said before I could speak. "Mrs. Thornton said you'd come. Mr. Davidson has been waiting. He's cleared his entire afternoon." The way she said it made my stomach drop. Robert Davidson was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with the sort of face that looked like it rarely smiled. He didn't smile now as he stood to shake my hand. "Mr. Thornton, please sit. This is going to take some time. Can I get you water or coffee? Just tell me what this is about." He studied me for a long moment, then reached into his desk and pulled out a thick folder. "Your wife came to me 14 months ago. She hired me to do a complete investigation and to prepare certain legal papers. What I'm about to show you will be hard to understand." "Investigation into what?" "Your daughter Claire and her husband Richard." The floor seemed to tilt. "What?" Davidson opened the file. "Your wife thought there were money problems. She asked me to look into it quietly. Mr. Thornton, over the past 6 years, your daughter and son-in-law have slowly stolen about $847,000 from your shared bank accounts." I couldn't breathe. "That's impossible. I would have noticed." "Your wife set up the accounts so you wouldn't. When you both retired, she set up what she told you were separate retirement accounts for tax reasons. You could sign for some accounts, she could sign for others. Do you remember that conversation?" I did, sort of. Margaret had always handled our money. She'd been an accountant for a school board for 30 years. I'd trusted her completely. "The accounts she controlled," Davidson continued, pulling out bank papers, "were the ones slowly emptied. It started small, $5,000 here, $3,000 there, but it got worse. Look at these dates." He spread the papers across his desk. Withdrawal after withdrawal, each one signed by someone with permission to access the account, each one matching dates when Claire had visited her mother alone. "Claire has permission to access the accounts," I whispered. "Your wife gave it to her in 2018, shortly after your heart surgery. You were unconscious for 3 days. Do you remember signing anything during that time?" I didn't. Those days were a blur of medicines and fear. "Your wife became suspicious 6 years later, in early 2023. She noticed Claire's lifestyle didn't match what she and Richard should have been earning. The European vacations, the expensive Tesla car, the kitchen renovation that cost more than your first house. When Margaret started asking questions, Claire told her Richard had gotten a big promotion. But your wife checked. Richard was still making the same salary he'd made for 5 years. Davidson pulled out more papers and photos. Claire and Richard at a fancy resort in Bali. Claire posting on social media about their rental properties, while Margaret was driving a 12-year-old Honda. Screenshots of text messages. Your wife hired a money detective. Every withdrawal was traced. Claire would visit your wife, often bringing coffee or lunch. Within hours, another withdrawal would appear. Your wife realized Claire was watching her enter her secret codes, or worse, forcing her to make transfers. Forcing? My voice cracked. Your wife started keeping a journal. May I? He handed me a leather-covered notebook. I recognized Margaret's handwriting right away, but it was shakier than usual, written during her sickness. The first entry was dated March 15, 2024. Claire came today. She brought my favorite soup from the deli, but I couldn't eat it. She kept talking about how they're struggling with house payments. Then she said the words that made my blood run cold. You know, Mom, if something happened to you, Dad couldn't manage alone. He'd probably have to sell the house and move into a care home. Wouldn't it be better if I handled things now? Made sure you're both protected? She doesn't know I've already figured it out. She thinks I'm too sick to notice, but I notice everything. The way she looks at her phone when she thinks I'm sleeping, the way she talks about money whenever William leaves the room. Today, she asked again about accessing the investment account, just to help me organize things. I said no. She got angry. Actually angry. My own daughter. Then she caught herself and smiled, patted my hand, said she was just worried about me. But I saw it. The mask slipped for just a moment. I couldn't read anymore. My hands were shaking too hard. There are 57 entries, Davidson said quietly. Your wife wrote down everything. Dates, times, conversations, witnesses when possible. She even started recording some of their visits on her phone. But she was careful never to let Claire see. Why didn't she tell me? She tried. According to her notes, she tried to talk to you about it 3 times. Each time you told her she must be confused, that Claire would never do such a thing. The last time she brought it up, you suggested her cancer medicines were messing with her thinking. The memory hit me like a punch. Margaret, weak and pale, trying to tell me something about the bank accounts. Me, tired from months of taking care of her, cutting her off. Honey, Claire's been nothing but helpful. Don't let the sickness make you paranoid. Paranoid. I'd used that exact word. Your wife realized she couldn't convince you, so she built a case instead. She knew she didn't have much time. The cancer was bad. She'd already decided against treatment. She said treatment wouldn't work anyway. It might have given her 6 more months, but she told me she needed her mind clear for what came next. She spent those months gathering proof, working with me to prepare the legal papers. She set up this meeting to happen after her death, when you couldn't dismiss her worries as confusion. Davidson pushed a larger envelope across the desk. This is for you. She recorded a video message. She wanted you to hear it from her. I couldn't move. Couldn't think. My daughter. My only child. Before you watch, Davidson said, you should know what she's done. Your wife changed her will 3 weeks before she died. She also filed a police report, though she asked them to wait until after this meeting to do anything. There's now an active investigation into elder financial abuse. She's also frozen all remaining money and moved it into a trust that Claire cannot touch. Everything goes to your grandson, Kyle, when he turns 25. She's also named you as the only person in charge, with me as backup. Kyle, my grandson, 12 years old, crazy about hockey and dinosaurs. Your wife was very clear in her wishes. She wanted Kyle protected from his parents' bad influence. There's money set aside for his education and his future, but nothing more for Claire or Richard until they've paid back everything they took. He pressed play on his laptop. Margaret's face filled the screen. She was sitting in her bed at home, the one where she'd eventually die. She looked so small, so tired, but her eyes were sharp. William, her recorded voice said, and I nearly broke. If you're watching this, then I'm gone and you finally learned the truth. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but I need you to understand something important. She paused, catching her breath. I didn't do this out of cruelty. I didn't do this for revenge. I did this because our daughter is sick. Not physically sick like me, but sick in a way that's maybe harder to cure. She's become someone who believes she deserves whatever she wants, no matter who she hurts. And if we don't stop her now, she'll teach Kyle that same sickness. I want you to know I forgive her. I truly do. But forgiveness doesn't mean letting it continue. It doesn't mean letting her destroy herself further, or destroy you, or damage her own son. Love sometimes means drawing a hard line. She coughed, struggled to breathe, then continued. The proof is all there. Give it to the police. Let the courts decide what happens next. But more importantly, be there for Kyle. He's going to need his grandfather when his world falls apart. Don't let your anger at Claire stop you from loving him. And William, don't blame yourself for not believing me. She's been lying to us both for so long she became very good at it. You loved your daughter. There's no shame in that. Her face softened. I've loved you every day of our 43 years. I'll love you beyond this. But I need you to be strong now. Finish what I started. Protect our grandson. And remember that the truth, even when it hurts, is always kinder than a beautiful lie. The video ended. I sat there staring at the blank screen, feeling like I'd been hollowed out. What happens now? I finally asked. Now we call the police. They'll want to interview you and review the proof. The attorney's office has already been told. Given the amount involved and your wife's records, they're treating this as a serious case of financial harm to an elderly person. Claire will be arrested, almost certainly. Richard, too. They'll have a chance to pay it back, but given the amount and how long it went on, criminal charges are likely. I thought about my daughter, the little girl who used to bring me dandelions from the yard, the teenager who'd cried on my shoulder when her first boyfriend broke her heart. When had she become this person? Or had she always been this person and I'd been too blind to see? What about Kyle? Child services will be involved, but since Richard's parents are local and suitable, temporary custody will likely go to them until this is sorted out. Your wife arranged for a child psychologist to be available for him. She thought of everything. She always did. I picked up my phone. My hand floated over Claire's number. Then I put it down and called the police instead. The detective who arrived an hour later was a woman named Sergeant Patricia Walsh. She was probably close to retirement, with gray-streaked hair and the tired eyes of someone who'd seen too much of humanity's worst. "Mr. Thornton," she said as we shook hands, "I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry for what you're learning today." "You knew about this already?" "Your wife filed a beginning report with us 6 weeks before she passed. We've been building the case since then. We just needed you to review the proof and confirm certain details. Can you do that?" I spent the next 3 hours going through everything, the bank records, the permission papers that I never signed but had a signature that looked strangely like mine, the journal entries, the recordings Margaret had made of Claire's visits, where my daughter's voice turned cold and calculating the moment she thought her mother was asleep. In one recording, I heard Claire on the phone in Margaret's bathroom. "Mom's not going to last much longer. Dad's completely clueless. Once she's gone, we'll have everything." I had to leave the room. I threw up in Davidson's private bathroom, my body rejecting this new reality as hard as it could. When I came back, Walsh was gentle. "I know this is overwhelming, but you should know what your wife did, documenting everything so carefully. It's going to make our job much easier. Most elder abuse cases fall apart because there's no paper trail. Your wife made sure there would be no doubt." "What happens to Claire?" "That depends on several things. First-time offense, family relationship, whether she shows she's sorry. But Mr. Thornton, we're talking about $847,000 stolen over 6 years from a dying woman. The court won't look kindly on that. Prison is possible. At minimum, she'll face orders to pay it back, probation, and a criminal record. If it goes to trial and she's convicted, she could face several years in prison." "My daughter in prison. When will you arrest her?" "We'll execute the warrants tomorrow morning. We wanted to give you a heads up first. You might want to prepare yourself. The media sometimes gets hold of these things. I drove home in a daze. The house felt huge and empty without Margaret. It had felt that way since she died, but now it felt haunted by all the things I'd failed to notice. I found myself in her office, the small room she'd claimed as her own. When we'd first bought this house in 1987, everything was still exactly as she'd left it. The financial files in their labeled folders, the photo of us on our wedding day, the picture of Claire at her college graduation before things had apparently gone so wrong. On Margaret's desk, I found another envelope with my name on it in her handwriting. Inside was a letter. My dearest William, if you found this, you've been to the lawyer. You know everything now. I imagine you're feeling lost, betrayed, angry. Maybe you're angry at me for not telling you sooner. Maybe you're angry at yourself for not seeing it. Please don't be. We both loved Claire the best way we knew how, but I need to tell you something that might be hard to hear. We failed her. Not in loving her, but in preparing her. We gave her everything she wanted every time she wanted it. We smoothed every bump in her road. When she didn't get into her first-choice college, we donated money until they reconsidered. When she wrecked her car, we bought her a new one. When she and Richard couldn't afford their house, we co-signed their loan. We taught her that she deserved comfort, ease, and money. We never taught her the value of struggle, of earning, of doing without. And now she believes the world, and we, owe her everything she wants. That's on us, William. But here's the thing. It's not too late for Kyle. He's 12. He's still learning what kind of man he'll become, and he's watching everything. If we let Claire get away with this, if we sweep it under the rug for family peace, Kyle learns that stealing is okay if you're family, that lying is fine if you don't get caught, that the people who love you are the easiest targets. But if we hold Claire accountable, if we let her face real consequences for the first time in her life, Kyle learns something else. He learns that actions have consequences, that stealing is wrong even from your own mother, that love doesn't mean protecting people from the results of their choices. We can't save Claire. She has to save herself now. But we can save Kyle. The trust is set up. The money will be there for his education, for his first home, for his future, but only if he earns it honestly. There are rules. He has to finish college. He has to keep a job for 5 years. He has to complete a money education course. I want him to understand the value of what he's receiving. Be there for him, William. When the arrest happens, when his world falls apart, he's going to need someone stable. His parents have been teaching him lies. You need to teach him truth. And yes, I said arrest. Claire will be arrested. I'm not sorry about that. I wish I could be, but I'm not. She needs to hit rock bottom. It's the only chance she has to climb back up. I love you. I've always loved you. Please trust that I did the right thing, even if it doesn't feel that way now. Forever yours, Margaret. I don't remember falling asleep at her desk, but I must have, because I woke to my phone ringing at 6:47 a.m. It was Richard. You son of a... he snarled. The police are here. They're arresting Claire. What did you do? I did what Margaret asked me to do. Your wife was crazy. Everyone knew it, and you're just as bad, turning on your own daughter. Margaret wasn't crazy. She was dying. And while she was dying, your wife stole nearly $1 million from her. Silence on the other end. Then, we were going to pay it back. We were waiting for the right time. When, Richard? After she died? After I died? When exactly were you planning to return the money you stole from a woman dying of cancer? He hung up on me. The arrest made the news that evening. Local couple charged in elder abuse case. They didn't name Claire and Richard because the investigation was ongoing, but they didn't need to. In our neighborhood, word traveled fast. My phone started ringing. Friends of Claire's calling to tell me what a monster I was. People from our church asking if it was true. One of Margaret's old co-workers called just to say, good for Margaret. Good for her. Kyle's other grandmother, Richard's mother Patricia, called around 8 p.m. William, it's Patricia. I have Kyle here. He's very confused. The police took his parents this morning. He wants to know if he can stay with you. My chest tightened. Of course. Is he okay? No, but he will be. Can you come by? I think he needs to see you. Kyle was sitting on Patricia's couch when I arrived, still in his school clothes, his eyes red from crying. When he saw me, he jumped up and ran to me. "Grandpa, they took Mom and Dad. The police took them. They said they stole from Grandma Margaret. That's not true, is it? Mom wouldn't do that." I held him while he cried into my chest. He was 12, almost as tall as me now. But in that moment, he was 5 years old again, needing his grandfather to make everything okay. Except I couldn't make this okay. All I could do was tell him the truth. "Kyle, let's sit down. I need to talk to you about something important." We sat. Patricia brought us tea and then quietly left the room. "Your grandmother Margaret," I began, "spent the last year of her life investigating something she suspected about your mom. And she found out that yes, your mom and dad did take money that wasn't theirs. A lot of money. But why? We're not poor. We have a nice house and everything." "I don't know why, buddy. Sometimes people make really bad choices. Sometimes they convince themselves they deserve things they haven't earned. And sometimes those choices catch up with them." "Are they going to jail?" "Maybe. Probably. I don't know yet." He was quiet for a long time then. "Is that why Grandma Margaret didn't tell you she was sick until it was too late? Was she too busy catching Mom?" The question knocked the breath out of me. I hadn't even thought of that. Margaret spending her final months building a legal case instead of spending time with me. Choosing justice over peace. "Your grandmother was sick for a while before she told me. And yes, part of the reason was she was working on this. She wanted to protect you, Kyle. She wanted to make sure you had a future, even if your parents made mistakes. She left money for me, didn't she? Mom mentioned it once. She said when Grandma died, we'd all be set. Your grandmother left money for your education and for your future, but your mom and dad don't get any of it, only you when you're old enough. Because she didn't trust them? Because she loved you enough to make sure you had something they couldn't take." He started crying again. "I miss her." "Me too, buddy. Me too." The court case took 8 months. Claire and Richard both first said they were not guilty, claiming Margaret had been confused, that the money moves were gifts, that I was behind some kind of revenge plot. But the proof was too strong. The recordings, the journal, the money detective's report, the testimony from Margaret's doctor confirming she'd been mentally sharp until the day she died, the testimony from the lawyer who'd watched her sign the police report. 3 weeks before the trial date, they changed their answer to guilty. I went to the sentencing hearing. Claire's lawyer argued for mercy. First offense, family situation, deep sorrow. But when the judge asked Claire if she wanted to speak to the court, she stood up and said something that changed everything. "I know I'm supposed to say I'm sorry, and I am sorry. I'm sorry I got caught. I'm sorry my mother was mean enough to destroy my life, but I'm not sorry for taking what should have been mine anyway. That money was going to be my inheritance. I just took it a little early." The courtroom went silent. Even her lawyer looked shocked. The judge stared at her for a long moment. Then he said, "Miss Thornton Richards, what you've just shown is exactly why this court takes cases of elder abuse so seriously. You don't see yourself as a thief. You see yourself as deserving. You stole from your dying mother, and you're upset that she had the nerve to hold you accountable." He sentenced Claire to 4 years in prison. Richard got 3 years. Full repayment was ordered, though given their debts, actual repayment would take decades. Kyle was with me when the sentence was announced. He didn't cry, he just squeezed my hand. Grandma was right, wasn't she, about needing to stop them? Yes, she was right. Do you think Mom will ever get it? Will she ever understand what she did wrong? I hope so, but that's up to her now. That was 2 years ago. Claire is appealing her sentence, still saying she did nothing wrong. Richard got out on parole after 18 months and moved to Vancouver. They're divorced now. Kyle lives with me. Legally, he's in Patricia's custody, but he's here every day after school, most weekends and all summer. We've turned Margaret's office into a bedroom for him. He's 14 now, growing into the kind of young man Margaret would have been proud of. He asks about his mother sometimes. I let him visit her in prison, though she usually spends the visits complaining about how unfair the system is. But I also make sure he talks to the psychologist Margaret arranged. We talk about money, about honesty, about the difference between wanting something and deserving something. Last month, Kyle asked if he could get a part-time job at the rink, helping with the Learn to Skate program. He wants to save up for new hockey equipment. I could just ask you to buy it, he said, but that seems wrong now. Grandma Margaret set up that trust for important things, right? College and stuff? Hockey skates aren't important enough. They're important to you. Yeah, but I can earn the money myself. That way, when I use them, I'll know I paid for them. Does that make sense? It made perfect sense. Margaret had been right. We could save Kyle. We had saved Kyle. I think about Margaret every day. I think about how she spent her final months fighting for justice instead of resting. How she died alone with her secrets because she couldn't trust me to believe her. How she was right about everything. I wish I'd listened to her that first time she tried to tell me. I wish I'd been the partner she deserved, someone who trusted her judgment even when it seemed impossible. But I can't change the past. What I can do is what she asked of me. I can be there for Kyle. I can teach him what's right, even when it's hard. I can show him that real love sometimes means tough consequences, not easy comfort. And I can tell her story to anyone who will listen. Because elder abuse is happening in homes across this country right now. Adult children are stealing from aging parents, justifying it as early inheritance or helping manage money. And like me, too many spouses and siblings are dismissing the warning signs as confusion or worry. If someone you love starts talking about concerns that money is disappearing, about feeling pressured to make transfers, about family members who seem too interested in their money, listen to them. Don't dismiss it. Don't make excuses for the accused just because they're family. Document everything. Bank statements, conversations, suspicious transactions. Get legal advice. Contact Adult Protective Services if needed, the police if necessary. And understand this. Holding someone accountable isn't the opposite of loving them. Sometimes it's the deepest form of love there is. Because real love wants people to be their best selves, even if becoming that self requires consequences they don't want to face. Margaret knew that. It took me too long to learn it. Last week, I was going through some of her things and found one more letter tucked into her jewelry box. It was dated 2 days before she died. William, if you've gotten this far, if you've done what I asked and held Claire accountable, I want you to know something. I forgive you for not believing me the first time. I understand why you couldn't. She's your daughter. You loved her. That love blinded you. But love is supposed to do that sometimes. What matters is what you did after you learned the truth. Did you protect Kyle? Did you teach him what's right? Did you show him that even when the truth is painful, it's still worth fighting for? I believe you did. I believe in you. I always have. Now stop reading my old letters and go live your life. Take Kyle fishing. Teach him to fix the fence like you always wanted to teach Claire. Make him pancakes on Saturday mornings. Give him the childhood I wish we'd given his mother. One where he learns he's loved but not entitled, valued but not owed, supported but not enabled. That's my final wish. Not justice for what was done to me, but a better future for him. I love you, William. I'll be waiting for you, but not for a long time yet. You have work to do. Forever, Margaret. Kyle found me crying at the kitchen table, the letter in my hands. Grandpa, you okay? Yeah, buddy, I'm okay. Your grandmother just reminded me of something important. What's that? That the best way to honor the people we've lost is to protect the people we still have. He hugged me, and I thought about Margaret, wherever she was, hoping she could see this, hoping she knew that her final mission was accomplished. The truth had set us free. It was painful, it was hard, but it was right. And in the end, being right mattered more than being comfortable.